I did fail to get the closed captioning done. So if that's going to be an issue, then we'll have to cancel the meeting, and I apologize. I am recording it, so we can certainly go back in and listen to it again, or if we have any issues with hearing. And Kaya, I'd be directing that kind of towards you. Can you hear us clearly? You're on mute, but yes, you are on mute.
Okay, now?
Yeah, can you hear us clearly?
I heard everything.
Okay, fantastic. So
That's
we
what I
will,
was saying. I don't need it with the earphones. I don't need the captioning.
great.
Hi, Diva. Hi, Alan. We have quorum.
Let's roll.
Unmute me.
As we are turning over to a new board, and all officer positions are only 1 year, term limits for representatives are 2 years. I am going to go ahead and put Chris Gutierrez in charge as a past co-chair to lead this meeting. So Chris, would you like to, are you comfortable with that?
Sure. If
Okay, I know we
everybody,
didn't talk about it, so
That's all
I
right.
hope you're all right, but I know we need to at least get officers going, and then if we want to hand off to whomever decides to step in as chair, we'll go that way. So Chris, if you'd like to go ahead.
so I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:31, and we'll record that as Julia. Hang on, I'm just pulling up my agenda. Okay. So with that, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Santa Monica Community Gardens Advisory Committee for 2022 fiscal year. My goodness, as we get started. Our first agenda item is, of course, to look at our previous minutes and see if we can pass those. But do we need to identify anyone who's on the phone, for instance, so we know who is participating?
This is Nat Zappy is here. I'm the
Oh.
310-699-2902. Sorry, I have to call in today.
No apologies
But I'm here.
necessary. No apologies necessary.
Good to-
And we're just delighted to have everybody aboard. So Nat, you have with you Alan, Diva, Talia, Kaya, Ishara, Martha, Susan, and our illustrious staffer, Teague. Okay, so
Good to hear from all you.
Great. Would someone like to move for us to approve the minutes so we can discuss any alterations?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Susan will second that. Okay, any discussion? I have one slight change. My slight change is we had anticipated our next meeting being July 6th. Do we need to note in our minutes that that was later altered to a special meeting on the 8th? Okay, so Alan, you don't think we need to do that? Okay,
It didn't happen then, so we're only reporting on what happened at the meeting.
just wanted to clarify, and that's good. So is there any other discussion or need of additions or anything? Okay, so let's call the question. I cannot recall. Go ahead, Dee.
So I should have stopped this before we got kind of going on this. One of the things in our Brown training was that if we're doing teleconference, they would like to have roll call votes. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and if you want to go through the list and call. And the purpose behind that, folks, is so that anybody on the phone can hear who is voting. If we go back to in-person, we don't have to do that, but while we're doing that, they did mention that that was one of the changes that they'd like for us to do while on teleconferencing. So when we vote, Chris is going to, for now, need to call on each individual, please, okay?
That's great. So I'll go
But-
last.
Am I the
You
only
actually-
one on the phone?
You
I'm
are
sorry
at
to
this
interrupt. Am I-
point. You are at this point, Nat.
Okay, well, maybe is it easier for
Nancy
me to?
Desser is on the phone.
No, I think
Okay,
Nancy is
okay,
just
so there's other
off,
folks.
but
Okay. Well, if you want, if it's easier for me to jump back in, I'll be home in a little bit. I don't know. I just wanted to make sure we had a quorum, and I don't want to hold up just because I'm on the phone.
I don't think
so
being on the
I'm open
phone-
to.
I think it'll go
Okay.
pretty quickly, right? We only have 7 people that
Okay.
she'll need to call, so it's just gonna be, Kaya, I, nay, abstain. So
Okay, I'm sorry about that, everybody.
no worries, no worries. I think when you get home now, if you want to switch over, we can do it then.
Sure, sounds good.
okay, so I'm just going to go as I see us. So we're calling the question if there's no other changes. Kaya? We're
Yay,
seeking,
nay, what?
we're seeking to approve the minutes from our,
Oh, yes, yay.
okay. Susan,
Yay.
Diva,
Yes.
I probably should actually say committee member Alan Torrey.
Yes,
Thank you. Committee member Nat Zapier
Yay. Yeah.
and committee member Chris Kacharis, yay. I mean, aye. So that passes at 670. Great. All right, moving along on our agenda, we are eager to welcome our new board members. And here tonight, Alan Torrey, committee member Alan Torrey, thank you for joining us and bravo.
hi, everyone.
It's wonderful having you. We also have anticipated a renewal of Diva Houston, our committee member Diva. Thank you for coming back. I know that she's not here right now, had expected to be here, Cordula Oman from Main Street. So she may chime in a moment or so, is also new, well, renewed from several years ago. And Andy Lieberman from Main Street is not able to be with us tonight, but he will be participating as a renewed committee member.
Excuse me for a minute. Does anybody have any idea how well his surgery went?
I do. He's doing really well, but he was pooped.
No.
He had a hip replacement, everyone, and he's doing really well. He got out very quickly.
And is Radonna coming?
Oh, I apologize. Teague, what's the status of?
Rodana is not able to make it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellen, for reminding us. So Marlene Suzuki has joined us. Nancy Dresser, welcome to our first meeting of the new year. So with that, Teague, I know that you wanted to update us on the Brown Act training, et cetera, and we need to go through our future meetings in the board retreat. Did you want to dive in with us on that?
Well, we did send out I think there was an invitation for all of you to go attend that Brown Act. Did anybody go to that? Or has it happened yet? I don't know.
One of them did happen in July. The next one is August 6th. I mean, one happened, I believe, in July.
Okay.
So it doesn't appear that we have to register, pre-register. It just appears that we.
Yeah, I'm not quite certain, but I'll reach out to, I think it was Tanya,
Right.
who sends that out and make sure we get those over to you all. I think we've all been in these meetings before. We kind of recognize what it is and what they need, but it's always good to kind of bone up on those types of things. So if I'll send out a link, I think they have it. I assume it's been recorded that y'all can watch, and it would be nice if y'all did.
The only question that I have with respect to the Brown Act, before we even have an update personally, is on our emails. When we're discussing particular issues, we all have to be careful about how many of us are CC'd on that. Do you want to recount anything in particular in the next a few weeks that we should be paying attention to? Or Committee Member Allen, Tori, you might particularly want to alert us to any concerns. I know we haven't typically concerned ourselves with that, but I know that we should.
Well, I don't even know who's on the committee really, so it would be helpful, Teague, if you would send out a new list so that we're careful about that, because we've been emailing back and forth about the, expansion of the garden areas. And, I've been completely unaware of who's on the committee and who's not while I've been doing that. So it would be useful to know that. And yes, you probably should not email a majority or a quorum of the members, including yourself, because that would be a violation of the Brown Act. And I did see that Talia is trying to ask a question.
Thank you. Talia.
So the invitations to the Brown Act training, they're all through Blue Jeans, I think, unless they updated that recently. And I guess I can't do it with my old tech. So I didn't know if they were going to have them in person in the future, or if there would be like just something I could download and watch. Is that what you were saying? That maybe there'd be a download?
Hang on a second, Kaya. Let's get that answer from Teague.
I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Okay.
There is
Well, I would
an,
like to do it, but I don't think I can with the setup. So if
There is
another
an email.
opportunity comes along, thanks.
why don't we ask, what's her name, Thalia? The woman who's in charge?
Tanya,
Okay, so
I'll ask her. I'll follow up with her on it.
that'd be great. Kaya.
Yeah, I know that, I've been on the Disability Commission for 5 years, and we were trained with the Brown Act, but they came from the city council and trained us, at the disability meeting. And I know they were very specific about the getting together and emailing each other. And if we were talking about a specific proposal outside of, we weren't supposed to do that. So, but the thing is, like I have a government website. How would you do that if we don't have government websites, the email, you know what I mean? To make sure that everything that we email is officially email kind of thing, so I don't know how that would work for us because we don't have that.
That's a question that I think is specific to us, and I think it's an important one. Alan, with respect to the Urban Agricultural Subcommittee, Talia was good at not having, we didn't even put more than 3 of our respective members on any of those subcommittees. So we were way under the quorum. But that's a question that we really need clarified, because when we're talking just about general meeting notices and things like that, we do not have to worry about it, I believe. It's policy issues, it's specific proposals that we're concerned with. Okay, so Teague, if you don't mind following up to find out, 1, is there any pre-registration? 2, is Blue Jeans the only access point if you're going to join the meeting, or are they recorded and accessible otherwise?
Certainly.
Okay, great. Any other questions about Brown Act training or any other matters? Thank you. All right, moving along. We do have our future, I'm sorry, Teague.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We do have our future meetings to clarify, and we are indeed on a quarterly basis now. Teague?
That's correct.
Which presumably do we have some independence within that quarter, or are we looking at the first month of each quarter, which means the first Tuesday?
I think we should make it what's convenient for the group.
Okay, so help me out as I'm going to pull up a calendar. If anybody else is faster than I am, feel free. But our quarter, as we are here, our next meeting would be in October. And the first, hang on a second, first Tuesday of October is the 5th. So we could just identify all the first Tuesdays of the first month of each quarter. Is that satisfactory for everybody?
That's fine with me, but I do want to say I'll be in Hawaii then
For October,
that week, yeah.
that week. And
And the next,
Okay, so perhaps, here's our challenge, I think. We're only going to meet quarterly. Theoretically, that's only 4 meetings a year. We can have special meetings, but it would be helpful if we could try to get as many of us at each of the meetings as we can. So knowing that Alan's going to be away, would it help if we could look to the 3rd week of October? What do you all anticipate? Or am I wrong to suggest we all try to be there? Any thoughts?
that would be okay with me. I'm pretty free at this point.
Okay, Susan, did you have a comment?
I think if we set the dates tonight, then at least we'll have them on our calendars and be thinking about that as we go into, as we get closer to those months, and hopefully hold those times open.
Okay, but if, as in the case of Alan being able to identify a time he's not going to be here, or yourself or any of us, we could shift that. So looking at that situation, the third Tuesday in October would be the 19th of October.
I gotta go grab my book.
Okay. Teague, are you okay if we establish the actual dates at this point?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
And I just emailed everybody the board roster. I apologize for not getting that out sooner. I just got back from Indiana last night and was kind of hanging out with my parents and trying to do some work around their farm. So apologies for not getting that out to you guys sooner.
It's okay. We like the sunshine on your face, but we hope you had plenty of. Okay, so so far we're looking at October 19th, 6:30 on Tuesday.
For the record, I'm available January that Tuesday, and April that Tuesday, and I don't know about July that Tuesday, but I'm good for at least three
of the
future meetings if we make the calendar now.
Okay, we are making the calendar now. So if October 19th is our first meeting, the next meeting would be January 2022. Yikes. That's the 4th of January. That follows the new year. Typically, we have altered that date because of the challenges. The next, and I'm not making the case that we have to, I'm just reminding us that we have done that. So if we didn't go with the 4th, the 11th is the next date. How do people feel about the 4th? We could just put that on the calendar and dive right into 2022.
You want to
Sure.
go back to the first Tuesday then at that point?
I'm looking for feedback.
Well, I don't have anything on mine yet.
Well, okay, since everybody's open, let's just dive right into the new year on January 4th and make sure that we're having a good time together as we cheer in the new year on the committee. So let's aim for that 4th at 6:30. And then you're right to remind us that April would be the next meeting. That would be April 5th. And that would bring us to a close for the 2022 year. The only reason I would say that we can stop at that point is we are going to, we have certain terms that are going to wind up and we'll be doing new elections. But perhaps we can just remind people who are remaining for 2 years, and that includes anyone who was just recently elected, July 5th would indeed be the first Tuesday of the next fiscal year. So that's the next 4 meetings, 5 including tonight. Okay, so we'll put each of those on the calendar. Should we need, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, Chris, you said that's the next 4. So tonight, I have October 19th, January 4th, April 5th.
And should we go into the next year just for
July 5th, just to,
July 5th, just so we know for the class of people who were reelected or newly elected, that would be your first meeting for the next term.
July 5th. Okay, day after
Okay.
Independence Day. I'm cool with
Yeah.
that.
If we're gonna do it for New Year's, we can do it for independent time as well.
Yep. There, there is a chance that they will allow everyone to kind of return to their original schedule of every other month, which is what we did. If we did that, is that something that the crew would be interested in? Going to 6 meetings a year as opposed to 4?
Would
Sure.
that be thumbs up if that's doable for people? Okay, great.
I think when that comes to it, we may have to call a special meeting to kind of redo it. But we can, or at the next meeting that we were moving forward with it, we would change it back in. So we'll
Do you
keep
have
an ear on
any-
that. I think that as things open up, we would do that. And just so you know, Radonna has made a special request that we try to hold a meeting in person at the next one. So we'll look at reserving a room at the library, even if it means, the MLK auditorium, and, we're very spread out. So just know that might happen.
That's a problem with, if we're spread out somewhere, then there's a problem with my hearing.
Understood.
Okay, just point of order, we're welcoming, as she's connecting to audio, committee member Cordula Oman. Great. So with that calendar timeframe, you can send that out for us, Teague, and then everybody will know what we're anticipating. We had a board retreat a couple of years ago, and if I'm recalling correctly, that was in July of 2019 or so. And Talia, you did a good job setting that up. Perhaps you'd like to remind us what the benefits of that were and why we should continue that. And then we need to calendar a time for that.
Yeah, actually, I have to give Teague the credit. It was his idea. But I thought it was, and I thought it was a really great idea because we had skipped some potlucks and we hadn't really been together as a group outside of the meetings. And it was a nice chance to, grill some veggie hot dogs, and everybody brought a dish. I thought it was good. There was a couple people missing that probably should have been there. And it was one of the reasons we started doing this board community building. But I think keeping them going would just be really beneficial. Get to know each other aside from, being in a meeting situation. So I think that was it. We just had it at Ishihara, the end. Also, some of the people hadn't seen Ishihara before. So
Right, and by doing the retreat and having that many people, we were unable to talk about any business at all. So we get everybody together and we can't talk about anything because it's not an official meeting. So we just have to be. One of the things, just know that one of the things that I found with the Office of Sustainability Environment is that when we have our team meetings, the first thing that we really do is we do what's called an Around the World, where everybody gives a little bit about their personal life over the last since we've all met. And it really kind of helps, I think, kind of bring everybody together and raise a little bit more of empathy about what people are going through, but also because we don't see each other and don't have conversations, gives us all a little bit of a insight into each other's lives and what else is going on. Obviously share what you want, but I'd be happy to get a grill and do some carne asada or something else on that if everybody would be interested.
Tempeh asada.
Yuck. Carne asada. Oh, God, gag me with a spoon.
I'll have some of that, Teague.
Oh, thanks, Alan. You and me will be eating that.
So with that enthusiasm, I sense we definitely want to retreat.
I just wanted to bring up one point of order, though. When I was on the Rec and Parks Commission, we had a retreat or two, which were kind of full day things. And we talked nothing but business. And so I wonder if you can double check on that, Teague, because I think that as long as it's noticed as a meeting, that it would be allowable to discuss business. But and again, then you might have some people showing up wanting their tempeh or asada, but who aren't part of the group. But I do think that it is possible to do that. I know the council has retreats as well, and they don't just sit around and talk about each other. They do discuss business.
Okay.
Well, I think our retreat, as Talia and Teague were noting, was really a get together, just to get to know each other in a different way. But we could actually think about it as a little bit of a meeting as well. I mean, for instance, we're now part of the OSC. We could hear from James or Shannon or someone. You know, it was in 2018, excuse me, in 2008 or 09 when Susan had us, Shannon came to one of our meetings to talk about the sustainability plan. And we've never really had, save our attending the Task Force on the Environment, we've never had a connection with the OSC as a community garden group. So maybe, I mean, one thought could be that we could have a small presentation or discussion of, you know, urban agriculture in the context of OSC at our retreat and still have a get together. And what do people think about that notion?
I'm not pushing it. I'm just suggesting that it is possible to do that. And I think that, you know, a presentation like that might be a good idea, either that or at one of our regular meetings. But yeah, the connectivity to SD would be really great.
Susan, did you want to say something? And Martha, I thought, okay. Any thoughts about the nature of a retreat? We could plan the agenda for a little bit more. Kaya.
Yeah, am I muted? No, okay. No, I sort of, I don't know whether we're able to talk about, you know, meeting stuff at a retreat. I don't know about that, but I sort of like the separation myself, like just a retreat and get to know each other. And I mean, if somebody wants to talk about business and stuff like that, if we can't do that, then I don't know. But otherwise, I'd sort of like it to make it a retreat. Maybe we could have some music even, or, you know, we could each bring a spoon to tap something or whatever, just to something different like that. That's all. That's just my thoughts.
A party.
Okay, well, at this point, we're open to at least a gathering, a get-together gathering, and T, you could still find out what are the parameters of any business to be discussed or presentation, and then we can decide whether we want it pure one way or the other. Do we want to set a time for that now? Are we looking at this summer, and are we looking at August? Are we looking?
Summer's good, warm weather, that's nice. Ishihar's was great. I thought it was great. That's a great spot.
Okay. Since we typically meet on Tuesdays, we see you, Marlene and Martha. Yes, your good work over there. Do we want it to be a Tuesday evening in August? Yes, no?
Yes, fine.
Okay.
Sounds okay.
Okay, so with that in mind, we can take a look at our August dates, and those include on Tuesday, the 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st.
Oh my God.
The first Tuesday is coming up pretty fast, so I'm not inclined to force us to plan something that quickly. Second Tuesday is City Council, so just in case somebody has to be at City Council, we might want to avoid that. What about the 17th?
That sounds good. 17's an esoteric number.
I'm gone.
Okay, Susan's gone, so let's not pick that date. Are you here the
Well,
next? Well, let's try to see if we can get people together. If not, that's okay. I mean, we'll just live. But Is the 24th more amenable to most of us?
I can do the 24th.
That sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Sure.
Okay. All right, then how about if we plan a what did we do the last time? Did we have a 5 o'clock? How did?
I think so. I think it was early. I mean, people came when they could after work, but I think we started around 5. David, do you remember? We were sitting together.
I don't remember exact time, but I know
Okay.
it was still light
Yeah.
and then became cold. So early.
Mhm, mhm. That's true.
So
That's
is this
true.
a potluck then?
We
with
did a
T
potluck
barbecuing?
last time. T got us some hot dogs and things, as I recall, but we also brought things.
And we're going to
Okay.
be at Ishihara, right?
We can be. It looks like we did start. We did it on a Wednesday, by the way, and we started at 5:30. So just FYI.
Well, if you don't mind, let's stay with our Tuesdays. It just kind of keeps things a little bit tighter. And the 24th is what we're looking at, 5:30 on the 24th. What
Sure.
did we do? About an hour and a half? Is that what we did the last time?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Kind of stuck around a little bit long. Okay, so let's anticipate at least 5:30 to 7 on the 24th.
What day is it, Chris?
That's
What date is it again?
Tuesday, August 24.
Okay.
And even if there isn't a presentation, I see no problem with getting to know Shannon or getting to know James, to have, because it's important for us, this committee, I think, to know the OSC staff a little bit.
I agree with
do you
you.
think?
Okay, yeah, super.
So if you all
Okay.
don't mind, let's extend an invitation to James is Teague's immediate supervisor. Shannon Perry is the Chief Sustainability Officer for the city. And so she's the lead on that. That'd be great. Okay, so moving to our next agenda item, we have indeed a need to elect our new officers. And we have 2 officers. We have the chair and the vice chair. We have had in the past co-vice chairs. If we feel, if people really are eager to participate in that position, that's certainly open for our discussion. So let's start with our chair. We need nominations, and these are 1-year terms. And this is only the voting of this body of elected representatives. Mr. Committee Member Alan Toy, yes.
I'll nominate you, Chris.
I'm happy to accept the nomination. Are there any other nominations? Okay, so then we should do
Wait, Susan,
I'll
question.
second that. Can I second that?
there you go.
That'd be great. And I welcome the second. Thank you. We should do a voice. I forgot what we call it. I'm having a brain freeze.
Roll call.
Roll call. Thank you.
Roll call vote.
I used to be a teacher. Heavens. Okay. Let's do a roll call vote on that. Let's go ahead and start with Committee Member Alan Torrey.
Yes.
Committee Member Nat Zapia.
Yes.
Committee Member Cordula Oman.
Yes.
Committee Member Diva Houston. Diva, would you go off mute just for the record's sake?
Yes.
Committee Member Susan McCrory.
Yes.
Committee Member Kaya Dodge.
Yes.
And Committee Member Chris Kacharis. Yes. Okay, so we've selected myself for the year of 2022 fiscal year. Thank you, everyone. I'll do my darndest to fill those big shoes of Talia Tenari. So true. It's
Yeah,
so true.
Thank you, Talia.
Absolutely. Thank goodness she's not leaving us. She's just taking a new leadership role. With respect to our second position, and again, we could be imaginative should we need to, vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair? I'd actually like to nominate Nat Zapia for our vice chair, Park Avenue Gardner.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I accept. Thank you. I accept.
Are there
Call
any
the
other?
question.
Let's call the question.
I'm crying tears of joy. You can't see me, but
So Committee Member Alan Torrey.
Yes.
Committee member Cordula Orman,
Yes.
committee member Diva Houston,
Yes.
and committee member Susan McCory,
Yes.
committee member Kaya Dodge,
Yes.
committee member Chris Kacharis, yes, committee member Nat Zapia.
Yes.
Have to vote.
Okay, you do need to record your own vote. Thank you. Okay, so for the next year, you'll have Nat and myself. Just to be clear, so we have declined to have another co-chair, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. So we're on record with that. So Nat's responsibilities are to run the meetings or to take, help plan the agendas with us. But if I'm not available, he will be writing call with Teague. With that, we're moving on to our next agenda item. And that happens to be our updates from our staffer, Mr. Teague Wainwright.
Okay, I will be quick here. Monthly inspections, I am kind of continuing. We'll do third Wednesday. If anybody asks, it's always going to be the third Wednesday unless it's not. So this I will, just so you know, I'll be around for the rest of next week, and then I'm going on vacation again up to Northern California, and then we'll be back the beginning of August as we prepare for school. So I will probably, not sure how I'm going to do it, may do kind of a pre-inspection next week and just kind of send notes out and then just follow up when I get back if I see anything that kind of I think needs attention, and we'll go for that way. I've been gone for 2 weeks. As I mentioned, I was in Indiana, so I haven't even been back in the gardens yet, but I'm sure they look fine. I know that you do want to have an event this Saturday, and so I'm just going to send out an invitation that it's going to have kind of an open house feel again. Is that an okay thing with you guys, I assume? Yes, Talia?
So I'm happy to get bagels again and coffee if you can't get the coffee, Teague. My mom is visiting, so she can be there to kind of monitor and clean up. I have to leave at some point to go to work, but I'm happy to do it again if you guys want to do it.
Teague, if you're thinking about that as an open house, are we thinking the same kind of way we had the tables and the shading? What do you think?
Well, I'm not available on Saturday, so and so I could try to get things to people if they needed all of that stuff tomorrow, but I'm not around. So my thought was that we would just, if you guys were okay, we would just have the garden open. You know, we'll just say it's going to be open from 9 to 10, and I can drop off a folding table if you want. I can leave some things there in the community area if you do want to set some things out there, but have some coffee and let people kind of walk through. There was quite a few people who enjoyed walking through. So, I think throwing it out there isn't a bad thing.
Is our community area, I didn't look at it today when I was down there. I'll be there tomorrow. I don't know that it's amenable yet for us to use in that.
Well, we can talk about this a little bit later, but let's plan on at least having something, and we'll kind of figure that out first thing tomorrow morning and kind of figure out where you need to go. I mean, tomorrow's my on day, so if I need to move some things around and get a table or something down, we can make that happen. Talia, if you could, plan on picking up coffee and stuff like that, we'll go that way. Okay.
Okay, so that was just to clarify, that's a 9 o'clock start time for those of us who will go early to help you set up, Talia, but otherwise you're invited to, and to invite others to come to the Main Street Gardens for our second Saturday.
And we have some extra seed packs and stuff like that, and we can leave those if people want to come through and do that again. We're not going to have all that other information that I had out there, but I think you probably still have milkweed seedlings there. So
I think the community space could be very quickly. I mean, I think we should use the front half of it that's on the pathway, and have a table, have our coffee on the 2 tables, and I think Teague's right. I mean, if we have all the gates just kicked open, people are thrilled to walk through.
I mean, someone will need to kind of be out in the front, as kind of like thing. But I can leave, I can hang out those signs. And we should get, speaking of which, let's, we've been talking, I've been talking with Shannon and James about looking at kind of doing some new signs this year. So, we'll have that conversation a little bit more coming up, but, like having a sign out that says, open house this Saturday, those types of things. So that, it's not just social media, but, a sign on that we can hang up, that lets people know that, every second Saturday, the garden's going to be open. Would be, I think, a good opportunity for us. So anyway, let me just keep moving on. Permit renewals.
I have a question. I have a question on the monthly inspections. So
Sure.
we called out in our rules and regulations update the designation of those of us who would walk the gardens. Those of the community gardeners, excuse me, of the site reps who were going to walk the gardens. So we haven't done that yet for July. Do you want to resume that for August? And if for everyone who's uncertain of what I'm saying, if you recall, we used to have a couple of us, at least a couple of us pre-walk the gardens before T-Gate did the inspections and just kind of eyeballed what were some hot areas that needed some consideration, special consideration. We have in our rules and regulations, and this was a bit of a contentious item, if you don't recall, about a year ago. And we made it very clear that we would designate for each month who was going to do that. So we have a responsibility to carry that forward, at least for August. Any thoughts?
What I would suggest is, and for, the new site reps, it used to be that the garden site reps would walk along with the staff member, and there was enough moaning and groaning about site representatives having an unfair advantage and influence over it. So we took that out. It was an unfair account, certainly, but it also does take out the conflict of interest that we may be facing. Not that anybody would do it, but it just takes out that perception. So my suggestion would be that in July, knowing that my inspections are going to be kind of off, maybe next week, if we want to walk together at the gardens and just kind of look and get a baseline for the 2021, 2022, I'd be happy to do that with each of you, and then set a time in August and September, identify who wants to walk those, and then I could provide a time frame of when, and kind of a template of what I would need back, knowing that we have some new people on. How's that sound?
That seems reasonable to me. I'm not clear what you mean by next week walking with you, though.
So knowing that I'm not going to be doing a third Wednesday formal inspection, and knowing that the site reps inspection should be happening now, right? I mean, this would be the kind of the between my time, right? So what we need to do is kind of identify those exact dates that I'm going to be walking, and then kind of figure out what day a site rep would. And so next week, knowing that it's going to be a little off, and I have been in the gardens for a couple of weeks, and it's summertime, that maybe I walk with you guys just so we kind of identify some things that I can make sure that people know about, knowing that I'm going to be gone for another week.
So we can decide offline, but are you suggesting that at Main Street, you'd have a couple of the reps there, park?
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
Okay, so
Yep.
Kaya at Euclid, and Ellen and Nat, and Rodana, either one or all three of them. Although
Yep.
I know that's working and such.
So how about I'll reach out to each one of you guys, site rep groups, or as a team tomorrow, and we'll identify a day next week for that. But as for August and September, it'd be nice to have one of you all volunteer to be the site with the walker.
What? We missed it there. I missed the last few words that you said.
For
August and September, if we could just get someone to volunteer to be the person responsible for that inspection assistance. We'll put the names down, and then tomorrow we can identify the exact time frame, probably within a week of when that should happen.
Okay, and presumably there could be more than one site rep.
Yes.
In that pre-walk. Okay, great. As long as they're designated. Okay, great. Cordula, did you have a
Yeah,
question?
I have another question, if this is finished.
Is it on monthly
Yes.
inspections? We're on the staff updates around this.
Well, I was thinking to go back to the Saturday morning. And I was wondering if, as she talks about signs, maybe it could be made known that people should not be walking into people's gardens. I've been asked by several people to please make sure when they heard that I was going to be part of this group again, that I would make sure that nobody is allowed to really walk into somebody's garden, and also nobody should be picking up flowers or food or whatever it is what looks good.
Okay, that's great.
Um,
Let's hold on any more discussion of Saturday to go offline, but that's a very important point. So let's, Teague, if you don't mind, and even if some of us, any of us there on Saturday, we'll make sure that we encourage people to stay on that main path and not into the gardens.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, so continuing on the staff updates, permit renewals.
So we have not identified who's going to come, who's going to walk on August and September, and that was the
Oh, do
reason
you
we
want
got
it?
into this
Okay,
conversation.
I apologize.
But that's what it said. We said we would do it at
You're
the
right,
meeting.
you're right. So.
I volunteer for August.
And I volunteer for August.
Park Drive.
Do you want to do both August and September right now, Teague?
Yes.
Okay, Alan, do you want to do both August and September or just, okay,
September is,
you're
I
gone.
may be away,
Okay,
so no plans.
I could do it, no problem.
I
Thank
can
you,
do
Nat.
both.
Great.
okay, so we've
And Nate
got,
and Teague, I'll do it this next week if you tell
Fantastic.
me when.
Thanks.
Sounds
Thanks.
great, thanks.
and Kaya, you said you can do both August and
Yeah,
September at Euclid. I'm certainly happy to do next week and August with you, Teague, or with whomever from Main Street. Susan, Diva, Cordula.
Depends on what day it is in both months, but if it's the
Well-
day I'm here, I'm willing.
Okay, so why don't we figure that which days suit you? I'm pretty flexible in the morning.
Okay, well, we'll get the people. So I have Chris and Alan, and I'll arrange for Kaya to meet me next week at the respective gardens. In August, I have Chris, Alan, and Kaya, and then in September, I have Nat and Kaya, and Susan with maybe Diva as a backup if need be. Right? Yep. Sound good? Okay. We'll set the dates. Go ahead.
I think I heard Susan's available in August if the timing is appropriate. And
Fantastic. Super.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you. I know that that's a extra burden on everybody, but I must appreciate it. So, okay. Permit renewal. So still trying to get everybody's proof of
IDs?
residency. Yeah, I've been out and have a few people to kind of follow up with. Not everybody is very good at answering emails and stuff like that. So, and you know, we don't really have, again, we don't have a front office staff anymore. So it's a good call. So I'm taking a little bit of time. There were something like 500 of the fees that were increased across the city from various programs. And so our ISD department and finance is working on getting those into the Excella program. So I expect that probably next week we'll be able to get that the online payment ready, and will allow, I believe if people don't want to pay online, they will be able to come to City Hall. So City Hall is now open. If you ever need to come down, it's the entrance is off of, geez, what is
Olympic?
that street?
Olympic?
Yep. There's a south entrance there on Olympic, just as where the stoplight is for the exit for the City Hall parking lot. So if you ever need to go to City Hall, that's the entrance you're going to utilize. And in there is a kiosk, and we will allow anybody who wants to pay with a credit card, cash, or check, will be able to go in there and do it there. So that'll be nice and convenient. I am going to, it's on my list of to-do items tomorrow, get a breakdown to all of you that will identify the small, medium, and large gardens. And at the same time, we'll be emailing everybody, letting them know that certain, some of them have, many of them have, the fees are going to be the same, but the majority of them are going to see a slight fee increase. I've actually received payment from 2 people already in the form of a check. So I've been holding on to those. So I'm not ready quite yet for that. Let's see, anything else? Any questions on that? I know it's been a little bit delayed. I've talked to James and all those, but the Excella program still had the gardens under CCS, and before we start accepting all of the fees and stuff like that, I really needed to be moved to the appropriate department. So the delays, the city of Santa Monica is changing things. My email is not going to be smgov.net anymore. It will be santamonica.gov. We're doing some internal website changes, and know that you may get emails back if you're emailing any city of Santa Monica staff members stating that their emails are going to be changing. So the website also will be changing to santamonica.gov and will no longer be smgov.net. So just a heads up on that, which brings me to, all right, so any questions on the permit, by the way, before I move on? Chris?
Talia has a question.
No, that was for the blue jeans.
Okay, I apologize.
yeah,
Sorry.
that's
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
So that being said, as we get changed over, there was there's an opportunity to have advisory members have a santamonica.gov email. And if that were the case, knowing that you all are putting your personal emails on the board roster, would you rather have, what I'll do is I'll send out an email to everybody asking if you'd be interested in having a santamonica.gov email address before I make this board roster available to everybody. I don't want to put anybody in a situation where they feel that their personal information is getting out. So just I'll include that in an email. It sounds like I have a bunch of stuff to send you guys tomorrow. Last thing then on my staff updates really is the Marine Park Community Garden. So as you all know or knew, that we had some funding in the city capital improvement pre-COVID that got pulled back, but then was put back into CCS's, which is now community services budget. They have started to do a playground. They're going to be updating the there's so much work that needs to be done in Marine. There's like a playground that needs to be updated, basketball courts that are now fenced off because they need to be resurfaced, a handball court that's falling down that needs to be redone. And so all of those things kind of got funded during the COVID. And so we have to piggyback on there. We have a Survey Monkey out. I haven't checked it since I've been back, but before I went, we had nearly 300 responses, and just shy of 80% were very supportive. So next Thursday, we will be at the Rec and Parks Commission meeting, and we will be presenting on a couple of things. One will be the reporting back on how that survey went. But at the next Rec and Parks Commission meeting, there is also going to be a discussion regarding the status of the Garden Advisory Committee and to whom you report to. So currently you still report to the Rec and Parks Commission. And so there's going to be some conversation with both them, Office of Sustainability and Environment, and Community Services about where that sits. Shannon, James, and I all feel that it doesn't necessarily matter too much whom we report to, but that we feel that both at the task force on the environment and at Rec and Parks Commission, we should have a line in there at all times. And maybe we pull it out if we don't have anything to say, but an update on community gardens, knowing that we want to try to move some things forward. So Marine Park, again, next week, Rec and Parks Commission. Thursday, I think it starts at 6:30. If y'all want to, I'll see if I can find the invite or the meeting time and get it out to you guys if you all want to come and do that.
So it's in person.
Huh?
It's in person.
I don't believe so. I believe it's all still going to be Zoom. The only ones that are going to be in person, I think, are going to be the city council soon. I need to check on that though, Alan. I'll follow up and see when things are going to be in person.
Okay, so we would just need the address for the Zoom call.
That's correct. That's correct. So I'll figure out when that is, and we'll try to get that agenda out to you guys all, so you can be on there and support Marine Park. At that meeting, we've also been asked to give an opinion, suggestion on the use of the 19th Street vacant property as a community garden / communal farm kind of thing, and how that might move forward. So it's kind of an initial conversation. As you all know, back when we were in CCS, that was one of the spots that we had looked at as for a community garden. Alan, you probably had conversations on the committee when you were on RPC about what the use of that property was going to be used for, and it has continued to just sit vacant. So back many months ago, the community services director had talked to somebody, maybe one of the new council members, about something, and was asked my opinion, and I said I think it'd be a great garden, and so maybe we'll get an opportunity to build another one there. But anyway, so that will be a discussion at the Rec and Parks Commission meeting on Thursday as well. So I hope some of you can come join and at least make some public comments on things that are on the agenda.
Can you update, and you don't have to do it now because I know we're running short of time, but if those public comments require any before handling chits, or how does one line up to do that in these days of Zoom at that particular meeting? I know that the different commissions, as the city council, it does it in different ways. So can you
Certainly.
find that out for us and just remind us of those 3 items? I think some of us may well have an opinion about whether the committee should report to the OSC and or the concerns about, we don't have to go into it now, but that would be important. And the Marine Parks, we certainly want people who want to cheer that on, as well as the 19th Street. So
Hold on. I gotta get this clear. What are you referring to when you're referring to the OSC?
okay, remember that the Office of Sustainability and Environment, OSE.
OSC, oh, okay.
That is the, you already know that we report to them. We are part of them as opposed, and so whether our Community Garden Advisory Committee reports to the Task Force on the Environment, which is the closest to a commission that's attached to that division, or to the Rex and Park, will be up for discussion.
Okay.
So lastly, can you also get us the agenda for that? Not just the invitation, but the agenda for that Rex and Park, so we can pass it out? That would be great. Any other questions on that? Because that's an important meeting. Those are 3 big items. Talia?
I used to be on the email list, and Chris, I think you were too, for the Rec and Park, and I haven't seen any notices about them being canceled or rescheduled or anything. So, I mean, I don't know who I would have to get in touch with, but I would like to kind of, at least until it's decided what happens with the advisory committee, I'd like to at least know when stuff is happening or not happening. So
My suggestion then would be to go and reach out to the Rec and Parks Commissioners, which are going to be available online.
okay.
So that would be, if you feel like you're not getting it,
There was like the assistant who used to send them out.
someone like that, right?
Yeah.
He'll get you.
Okay.
He'll get you on.
Yeah, the staff person.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So Teague, if you help us do that, I'll help too, because I think I might still be getting those notices. And I can chime in on that. One just note for everybody, that's an important difference because the Rex and Park is currently meeting monthly, if I'm not wrong. And the task force was situated to meet quarterly. So unless that all gets changed, that would, be another concern. But with respect to the details, we can hear from you and offline in an email, just to remind us of what's on the agenda. So that's 6:30 Thursday of next week. Okay, great. Moving along, and I'm going to ask, we've got a good discussion on the urban agriculture incentive zone coming up. We've got 10 minutes set aside for that, but I just wanted to call our attention. We're at the 7:30 mark. So for the committee reports, which I know the urban ag zone might constitute one of those reports, let's try to keep the committee reports more concise than 30 minutes. And the task force is very short, and because we also want to really hear the Santa Monica Roots presentation. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the discussion on the UAIZ. Who is making that presentation?
I think I probably am. Ishara has also been part of the subcommittee, and Alan joined us in the last one, and Martha. I think Nancy, you were there maybe the first couple meetings. We met, it was like June 15th. And one of the waitlist members, Tracy, she did an amazing job of looking at these GPS coordinates of the city and places that were designated as vacant lots. So she's been uploading all of this information. And Martha and Ishara went all over Santa Monica, double checked all of the vacant lot properties that were listed that Teague had given us originally, and did all this great legwork, photographing them, getting the dimensions, seeing if there was water hookup. And now Tracy's putting that all into a Google Drive folder. Alan reached out to, was it Sheila Kuehl's office? And somewhere along the line, I got lost on who was who on the thread. It was a long thread, but they gave us some more information on City of Los Angeles UAIZ document.
County of Los Angeles.
County.
And it was,
Go ahead, Alan.
well, Sheila's office referred me to the planning department for the county, and then the person who was in charge of all of that was the one who was corresponding last with us, and he sent me a lot of information, which I don't know if you had it already, but it was some contracts, it was the county ordinance and all this kind of stuff, and he sounded like he was very helpful, but he also said that, which I thought was interesting, that the county had invited all the cities to pass an ordinance years ago and got no response from our city or very few others. And so there are, I think, 2 other cities now that have that zone ordinance.
And there are other cities, San Francisco did one, San Diego, Long Beach.
Right, but
Santa
2 in
Ana.
our county is what I mean.
Yeah, but I've also uploaded, I just Googled UAIZ and city info or something really simple like that. And there was a lot of contracts that came up, language explaining the program, lots of source documents that we can draw on when the time is right. So most of our urban ag expansion has been focused on the UAIZ. There are other ways we've talked about increasing urban agriculture, one of which was
Can you hold on that for a minute?
Yeah.
And take that to the committee reports. Help us know from this committee, what should we be anticipating with the UAIZ? What help does this committee, if anything, need to bring to it? Certainly just understanding.
Yeah.
and
I
potential
think
timeline.
I think at this point we need to decide, well, it depends on Recreation and Parks Commission. If we're ending up going to the task force, I think we should get on their agenda and start to put a presentation together as we identify these properties, figure out who owns them, start drafting letters. I think we need to start moving this so that the city can write the ordinance to do it. Because I mean, that timeline is going to be really, it's going to be a long timeline. It's going to take a couple months if we go through the task force. You said they meet quarterly, so it's going to take a while to get on that agenda and then to city council. So I think the advisory committee should probably make a motion to start working on a presentation. to bring that forward.
I don't think we need a motion. We can just endorse that committee on the expansion of the urban agriculture, move ahead on that presentation, and you can bring it back to our next meeting. I think go ahead.
We have another subcommittee scheduled for July 20th. So,
July 20th is a Tuesday, correct?
mhm.
Okay. And just for new members or anybody on this
Yeah, sorry, you need the background.
gathering, that's okay. That's a subcommittee that took charge somewhat with youth. The youth have stepped out for a bit as we kind of reconstitute their effort and see how they can become involved. So I'm glad that our group here is taking the lead on that. But that committee is open now again for new people to come on. I'd like to be able to be on that committee because we knew we couldn't have too many of us on it the last time. So if you don't mind,
Of course,
the
yeah.
committee's open. But I think it's smart to have you continue to chair it because you got that ball rolling, and
Yeah.
everybody who's been involved in it has done outstanding work.
And I'm also going to invite the Santa Monica Roots Board to also join in those conversations whenever they can. So that will be part of the focus for the
great.
Friends Garden.
And later in this agenda, we'll hear a little bit more about the roots.
Yeah.
That's great. So at this point, is there any other information that we of the committee need to know or be paying doggone attention to? And by the way, it wouldn't preclude a presentation to both the Rexon Park and
Right.
the task force. So, and the task force, if needed, they can set up a special meeting. It's just that right now they're set to meet quarterly.
Right. Okay. I think there were some emails, Martha and Ishara and Alan, chime in if you want to add something. There were some emails going back and forth, and I think Tracy had worked for Culver City Planning Department or something. So she's really adept at figuring all this stuff out. She was starting to look at if she could identify some property owners. Ishara had also emailed, and Martha too, had emailed the county assessor's office to get information. So thank you. Everybody did a lot of legwork on that. So
I also emailed the Rainbow Garden folks, but I didn't hear back
yes.
from them.
Thanks.
And I took the liberty of trying to soften the trenches a bit because of Phil's prior engagement with the Rec and Parks. I did send him an email and explained it to him that we were trying to get this going and that we had a lot more information now than we ever did before, and that I would be happy to go over it with him on a coffee with me and one or two others, or just have him come over here for a drink after work since he's my next door neighbor. But true to fashion, Phil didn't respond to that email either. I'm not finding him be the most responsive emailer on the council. But then I also saw a gleam at the farmers market and just threw out the idea to her that we needed to do this and expand the gardens. And she was very, very supportive. So she's another person in the pocket.
Good.
Phil is on record with the Climate Court on a recorded conversation about opening up to those ideas. So maybe this is a role for the youth to step in and maybe also remind him of his support. So just a thought, and I'll share that recording with you so that you guys can hear how he talked about a lot of things, but I'll pinpoint where he talked about those particular opportunities.
Just to mention
Shara?
that also from our last meeting of the subcommittee of the whatever we are, the little group, Talia and this other person, Diane, are going to be working on a sort of a draft of a letter of how would we want to approach owners. We also have been looking at getting the names of the owners through the assessor's office, and that's coming in, or some other ways that I know Samantha was doing some work with one place, and I got the name of that owner. So I think, and Martha found out a lot of information. So we're also seeing which of the vacant lots are still vacant, because from Teague's original, like 18 vacant lots, I would say half of them, or maybe it's not half, but my guess is almost that, have buildings already or soon to have buildings and things like that. And then this amazing list that Tracy has put together, even a lot of those that she thought seemed to be better. I've been doing a lot of scrounging. Martha's been doing a lot of scrounging, and there's been a lot of building already, or we're finding a few that weren't on the list. So we're continuing to gather this information so we could also have some better sense of what actually exists or not, or depending on who owns it. Because I know already we've been doing some work, and I can't remember if it was that committee or some other, with there's a potential with something with Community Corps. And so that's a whole partnership in terms of including gardens, or really urban agriculture, whatever we want to call it, but growing things. And that whole potential partnership has a lot of, could be really good. So I
That's
think
great.
we're continuing to meet, and I think, from our experience, we're an active group because we want to see things happen. So it's like we're clamoring.
Okay, I'm going to ask us to be a little more concise because we're running up against the clock on our time. That's great information. So the UAIZ is coming under the Urban Agricultural Expanding Opportunities Subcommittee. So with that, we know that you're going to continue to inform us, and that's continuing to meet on July 20th on 9 a.m. On Tuesday, I think, is the next meeting. That's great. Okay. So that's another reason why this Thursday discussion at the Rexham Park is going to be interesting to see whom we end up reporting to. All right, with that, our next agenda item comes up as the committee reports. And I feel that we probably already addressed the increasing gardening opportunities, although there might be one or two volunteer things that we want to throw out on that as well. So on events, we talked about, Susan, are you still working with Teague on the events? Are you still open to helping to chair that? Are you doing education? I apologize. I was on events. I was on events at one point. But Talia has kind of stepped into that. We don't have to have site reps chairing these committees. It can be any person who's a regular participant to us who does that. So the second Saturday of the month, we've already addressed. Is there any other events, Teague, coming up at Ishihara, or things that we should be considering as events as we emerge from the pandemic?
So I think we plan on starting back up a third Saturday at Ishihara. There's been a lot of people traveling, including myself. We have hosted the Police Activity League. So we have hosted the Police Activity League three times, Martha, twice at the Ishihara Park Learning Garden. They came again today. They have very little gardening experience. Would you agree with that, Martha and Marlene? I mean, these kids that are coming have not done much in the way of gardens, and that's a shame, knowing that many of them are within Santa Monica School programs. So that would, it's fun. I'm going to be. I think we have them coming back again later in July or early August, and I'm actually going to be going to the Police Activity Leagues and visiting with them. We also have a preschool. Tomorrow. Hill and Dale, I think it's next Friday actually, that's going to be coming to. So we're starting to get some other groups that are starting to do some like individual tours at some of the schools. So we'll kind of see how that goes. We'll have a retreat, and then Kaya, I wanted to talk to Kaya about trying to maybe plan something maybe around fall and try to do something at Euclid and include that little school that's next door. Try to like maybe coordinate with them to hold like a little school festival when they come back into school over at Euclid. But other than that, right, I expect there will be some festivals and stuff that will come through, and we'll keep an eye on those. And then as education groups, Ishara, if UCLA has anything that they are doing and they need someone to fill in a booth, please let us know. We're eager and ready to go.
I'm retired. I don't know what UCLA does.
Ah.
Yeah, that's great. With respect to our media reports, we had it in our minutes, reminded to maybe reach back out to Ken to see if we can initiate. Talia, did you have a chance to do that?
No, I remembered that Ken and I had that discussion a while back that he was like, no, I'm too busy. You take care of it. So I can ask him again. I'm sorry, I didn't do it for this. But I had just taken over getting in touch with Matt and trying to manage that. I'm happy to keep doing that, but I did meet with, Ishara mentioned Diane Drake, who is a writer, who's been with the Ag Expansion Subcommittee. So I talked to her a little bit about it. She was not crazy about writing them because she's actually a professional writer. But she said she'd be happy to edit it and kind of manage it. And she actually thought twice a month was kind of a lot. So it was interesting just to hear her perspective, but there's somebody else who's willing to, put a little work into it for us. So.
Well, why don't we put an invitation out again? Let's try once a month. Why don't we check back in with Matt?
I'll check in with Matt again this week.
And we can renew that. And just for everybody who didn't know, we used to have the community and gardening column in the Santa Monica Daily Press. It was a very nice way to connect with the community at large. And we have several articles that also reflect our history in a way. And it's a great way to bring in new stories about individual gardeners, about what's going on, about something like the UAIZ. It's informative in a lot of other ways. Okay.
Hey, Chris, how about we do this then? Let's do, maybe I'll do like a sign up genius, and we create like a spreadsheet for, one a month, and we can send that out to the group and see if anybody's interested in putting one together. We can get some information from Ken about how many words it needs to be. And then we can kind of be a little bit ahead of the game. How's that sound?
And I think that's a great idea. Okay. This is not something that's exclusive to this committee. This is an opportunity for gardening friends, gardening waitlisters, youth gardeners, so we just need to organize it. And
if you're ever in your garden and see something unique that you think would be a fun picture to do, snap a picture, send it to me. Amanda Grossman, who used to work with CSD, runs our Instagram and those types of accounts, and is always willing to take on some of those. So if I'm happy to share anything you all come across in the garden. If you want to send it over as part of our social media, that can definitely be something we can do as well.
Can you also send out the social media link for that so that those of us who don't follow it yet start following it, and then we can, be enjoying what we're contributing to?
I'll have to get it because I don't follow it either.
That's okay. That's okay. But it's a good way to get the youth involved as well. All right, with that, let's move to the next committee. We kind of rolled in education and on the event. Is anything else we need to know, Susan or Teague, about education?
I have been not very active, and I don't think I will be that active in this coming period of time, probably at least through this year. I'm still in recovery mode here. And we do appreciate, Teague, all the marvelous things that you do. And I really appreciate all the stuff that you've made happen.
Well, Susan, if they do contact you, because many of them still have your name, please just send them our way. So for those of you that are new, Susan, definitely helped with, a buttload of things, but, also helped set up a partnership with the Santa Monica Library where they bring kids down for story time. So I expect we'll get some of those coming through a little bit. We will plan on doing another round of Grow LA Victory Garden classes this year as well. And maybe in August or September can throw out a survey to people about workshops. That would be if we do get the Marine Park, going, we'll probably try to do some workshops there. So we're also reaching out to SMMUSD and looking to ask if we can lead some teacher workshops or teacher or parent workshops as they come back into school. So trying to set up, where our gardeners can provide some training for some parents when they come back, give out seeds, those types of things. So keep an eye out for that. Okay.
Great. Just to note, as we had the increasing gardening opportunity report already, I don't know if you are all on the farms at Will Rogers listserv with Oliver. We can invite you to that. There is another volunteer day coming up. I think it's a week from this Saturday, and that is the 16th and Maple. That is a new regenerative farm that is adjacent to Will Rogers Learning Community School. And it's a fabulous example of a nonprofit working with the school, et cetera. They welcome all kinds of volunteers. So I'll send that note to you, Teague, of what I received, and you can certainly send it out to anybody, because the opportunity is there for waitlisters, for us, for anyone to join on board. And they're delighted to have any kind of connection with us.
Okay.
On the administration committee, this is the committee that has typically dealt with rules and regulations, good neighbor policy, budget concerns, things like that. We don't really have a budget, but when we're trying to address needs in that regard, we have typically had the chair and the vice chair on that. So Nat, if you don't mind, I'll inform you about that. And we don't have a meeting set up.
Sure.
Some rigorous, thank you, Talia, reviews of all the rules and regs. So as we kind of get used to all that again, we'll open up some next possibilities. And anybody and everybody is welcome to be on that administration committee. So we'll identify some of our next needs and then move forward on that.
Chris, I kind of see the next need is, what happens at this Rec and Parks Commission meeting about, where the reporting's going to, and making sure that you and Nat are in communication with wherever we're going, right? If we stay with Rec and Parks, that you guys have the ear of the gardens liaison there, and if we go to Task Force on the Environment, that you have them there. So
that would be great.
Okay.
All right, that brings us to the Task Force on the Environment. And because we didn't have any formal arrangement before, we had established years ago our own liaison there. I've been sitting on that position. It's a little self-selection group opportunity that this group identified. I'm going to go to those meetings anyway. So I'm happy to have any one of you consider being a formal liaison. And then if we are reporting, that person could help shepherd the information to the task force. It's a fabulous meeting. It's very high level understanding of what's going on in the city. The next meeting is slated right now for July 19th, but they did cancel the June one, so I don't know how they're going to handle this first quarter. So I'll confirm with Amanda, and I'll inform everyone about that. And they handle everything from, they advise the council on all things environmental. And so it's a very, very important task force. And they're also very savvy as professionals in the field. And they're yearning to know more about the community gardens and its role in urban agriculture. So it's been a good liaison position, but it's going to be more solidified as we're now part of the OSC. All right, Talia, that brings us to our new opportunity to learn about the Santa Monica roots before we close tonight.
Okay.
Could I ask a quick question?
Kaya, I apologize, please.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question about, is there any preference for whether we would go to the Parks and Recreation or the task force? Are there advantages or disadvantages? Does it make a difference? I don't want to get into a long thing, but do you have a preference or?
Well, because this is not an agendized issue, I'm going to contextualize that only in what the task force deals with. So let me do it that way. The task force deals with, it's an advisory committee to the council. The council highly respects it, because to be on that task force, one has to either work or live in Santa Monica and have a professional field of understanding of the environment. So they have water, they have, the chair is the former chief of sustainability officer for the city, Dean Kubani, education, etc. I can send links to you all so that you can look at what former agendas have been. You can listen to the recordings of their conversation. My own regard for the committee is it's a very smart and open committee that makes very tough calls on some important key issues. And if without it, the city would not be leading on sustainability. Let me say it that way, since 94. So that's all I feel confident about laying out with respect to your question. All right, Talia, back to you for the Santa Monica Roots.
So just to give a little quick background, a few years ago, gardeners that were volunteering, advisory committee members saw a need to be able to get reimbursed for activities that we had bought supplies for, and also to raise money. So we started throwing around the idea of having a Friends of the Garden organization. So when Teague came on board, he introduced us to the executive director of the Los Angeles Community Garden Council, and they help build gardens throughout Los Angeles County. They act as a fiscal agent. So we kind of informally signed on with them. And I don't know if you remember Tiffany Brown, she was a gardener in Park Drive South. She was going to take the lead on that. And so as we've kind of been working on building this organization and how it fits into the city, but languished a couple years and then COVID happened. So now we've picked it back up. I reaffirmed our relationship with LACGC. So they'll accept money on our behalf and they get 10%, and that goes to their other partner gardens. We've just had our first board meeting. We had it on Tuesday, June 29th. And the board members, I'll just run through our list. Ishara Balas is on it. Shirley Vernali, who was one of the former librarians up at the Fairview branch. She used to be in charge of the Seed Library. Margaret Sansom, she's also a Main Street gardener. Randy Ziegler, Main Street gardener. Samantha Mota, who is one of the Climate Corps youth, guerrilla gardener, and what else does she do? She waters for everybody. She's always in the street. And I will be on the board also. So in that meeting, we designated president, treasurer, and secretary. I will act as the president. Ishara is going to be the secretary. Shirley volunteered to do the day-to-day accounting, accepting checks, being in touch with LACGC, pressing checks when we need them. And Margaret will support her if we need any further accounting information going back and forth with their accountants. So we're all set on the boards or on the officers. We also reviewed the mission statement, and that's something we wanted to kind of work on a little bit more, expand the language on urban agricultural expansion. It doesn't really touch on it a lot, so that was one of the other things we worked on. I sent around the draft.
Hey, Talia.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, this is Nat. Don't forget that I'm going to be the liaison.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
Oh, yeah, yes, okay. I'll go
Talia, could you hold for just a second? Because we're at 7:58. Is it, for point of order, I'd like to move that we add another no more than 10 minutes to this meeting. Is that in a
Second.
motion?
Second.
Okay, great. Thank you. Could you, all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, great. I apologize, Talia, you want to continue?
Okay, so sorry, Nat. Yes, Nat will be acting as our liaison to the advisory committee, and Teague will be our staff liaison. So we've got a situation where we're kind of all covered. If I can't make it to a community garden advisory committee meeting or nobody else can, then we'll all know what's going on. So yeah, sorry about that, Nat, thanks. We also.
Oh, no problem. I
we
just can't
had
see
our-
it, so sorry.
I also sent our draft of our bylaws. Teague, I need to check in with you to maybe see if you can connect me with Glenn on the LACGC board. Because it's not we're not a 501c3, we're under the umbrella of a 501c3. So I want to make sure that the bylaws for Santa Monica Roots are written properly to reflect how we function with LACGC. And also, the next step after that will be working with the city of Santa Monica on an MOU. So it's a memorandum of understanding with, and I guess we'll see if it's task force or recreation parks. So also Teague, I need to catch up with you on that. And so that'll be our next thing to work on. Our mission statement, the bylaws, and getting our MOU. And we've set the next meeting for Tuesday, September 21st. So Ishara, chime in if you have anything to add. So that's where we are.
Great.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
everybody involved.
Well, and Teague too, kind of getting us all set up with where how we needed to move this group into the right direction. I think.
I'm really excited, guys. I mean, I think that getting this, set up will allow us to, have kind of a friends of the garden. So when the city is saying, well, we'd like to develop 19th Street, but we don't have the money to do it, we can, Santa Monica Roots can go after that. And if we need, grants that are nonprofit available, right? It's going to be, I think this is perfect for Santa Monica. So thank you for leading that, Tali. And I know, I'm sorry I wasn't at the meeting, but I know you all have a bunch of great minds and great ideas. So I'm looking forward to this working out well.
I would suggest that we make this a standing opportunity to learn at every one of our meetings. So a 5 or 10 minute update would be really helpful. And just to add, there is a logo. One of the Climate Corps did in fact create a beautiful logo for the team. And it'll be fun to see, any of the materials that you want us to take a look at just to get a preview. Any other questions for Talia at this point? Alan?
Well, not for Talia. I thought we were moving on. I have a question for Teague.
Okay. I think we're wrapped with Santa Monica Roots. Go ahead.
Teague, I didn't get that board roster. As you know, I have a problem receiving attachments from you. Can you please try using atoy@ucla.edu as my address? And we'll see if that works any better. But in the meantime, if you could sidebar send that to me, I would appreciate it.
Alan, what was it? It was atoy@ucla.edu.
Right.
Yeah, I will do that.
Okay, and if you can just send it to me after the meeting, that'd be super.
Yep.
Thank you.
And just so you all know, if not now, soon, all of us will be posted on the website too, of the Community Gardens website that is part of OSC. So Teague, when that happens, do you mind sending us a link so everybody is familiar with how that fits in?
I don't mind, but that's part of the rebranding and a new website. So it's currently still sits under CCS's domain. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's been a year now, right? So I'm looking forward to kind of being cleaned up and ready to go. So
that's great. All right, so we're moving right along to our last item, public comments. And do we have any public comments? Those are the comments on non-agendized items. Okay, I do want to make note on our agenda, up at the top, it indicates that public comments would be submitted before the meeting. Can you help us clarify an understanding, Teague, on, I was a little confused by the way that was phrased. I would have been confused as a public wondering, did I need to sign up or at least get something in? And so we don't have to discuss it tonight, but I think we need to just understand that better. You
I
see
will
what I'm
follow
talking
up. It's been up, that's been on all of the agendas.
I know, and
so-
I never noticed that until today. And I
Okay, I'll
thought,
follow up. I'll follow up with the city manager's office about that.
okay, that would be great. Well, with that, you all are just amazing and efficient. And boy, Ishihara, thank you so much, Marlene and Martha, for being here. I do think that we need to consider as an agenda item for the future, which is, how we've had representation on a voluntary basis. They're not formal voting members of this committee, but perhaps we need to formalize their participation somehow, at least on paper. And I know the challenges of that, but Ishihara is a important feature of our urban ag, and we don't want to lose that voice in a codified way. So can we agendize that for our next meeting to find out what we can do? And Teague will help you with that to see how that might play out.
Yep.
All right, if there's any other agenda items, we construct the agenda as soon as we can, but I'm happy to have you send them to Teague and myself and Nat, as well as at this meeting, coming out of this meeting, we've now established a standing Santa Monica Roots conversation and an opportunity to consider how do we have Ishihara represented at these meetings in a healthy way. Is there any other agenda item that we should consider for the future? Okay, we welcome any ideas coming our way. So Teague, thank you very much for recording this, and everyone, thank you. With that, this is my failing. I can't remember, do we need a motion to adjourn? Do we need a motion to adjourn? We do. Okay, so I open to an motion to.
So I moved to adjourn, and Teague, I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I second.
Susan, you'll second it?
So, okay. Yes.
Okay, great. Everyone in favor of adjourning? Aye.
I.
Thanks, everybody.
Look
See ya.
forward to the notes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a
Great
lovely
to see
evening.
you all.
everyone.
Happy
Have
summer.
fun in the gardens.
Bye.
Yes, keep planting. Bye-bye.